Dimp Digital presents Idle Game Chat.
Cool.
So Adcock, here we are, another year, 2024. You're happy winning the gaming quiz for the third time. I think we believe we actually figured it out on the call, but you must be happy with that. The year starting off in thrilling style, and you've got your FGL draft, your FGL team out there. You're in your teams. What's 2024 going to be for you?
It's all started well, isn't it, really? I won that quiz. My Alzheimer's kicked in, though, so I don't even remember the other one. Thought it was two, but it's allegedly three.
Three now, yeah.
Finally got a good draft position, so second, which I'll absolutely take, and then picked first, which I think that's maybe a misguided pick from paper, but I'll take it all the same. I don't think I'm worthy of a first pick, but
No.
It's nice to go up a little bit.
Is it all downhill from here?
No. Why would it be?
Well,
No,
it gets crumbles. Things crumble easily, don't they?
Just got to keep an eye on it, is all. That's all that is. It's managing that thing. Looking for those, reminding yourself when a new game, because that's the thing this year, I think. We'll probably get into it, but it's a bit of a sort of dead duck of the year. But there are bound to be at least, 2 or 3 games that no one knows are coming that are going to get dropped, announced and dropped this year, you would think. I'm not saying they're going to be AAA, top of the Rangers, but they could well be, one below that. And remind yourself they've got announced and get them as soon as that window opens. That's key.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good that you kind of touched upon that, just so I can set up the episode. This is going to be a bit of a look forward at 2024. We're not going to go too far into the future, though. I think previously when we've done Gaming's Most Wanted, I've gone 10 games for the whole year, and some of the took that people put on there, and it's stuff that's you get people putting GTA 6 2 years ago. I'm like, it needs to be in the realms of possibility. So I decided to scope it down for this particular year, and actually we're only going to do Q1 of 2024 here, with a hopefully come back with you or others to do Q2, Q3, Q4, because in this period I think we can generally say the games that we've picked have got a release date, for one thing, and we are expecting them. Now, they could get pushed by a couple of months, but it's unlikely that many of these will get pushed out of the year. So at some point during 2024, we'll play it. Whereas I think the last few years, we'd have 10 games on there, and about 3 of them would end up arriving. And I don't know about you. I don't know if I'm just getting old or more cynical, but I just don't like to get overexcited about things that are just... Like even GTA 6, that's a perfect example. It's going to be amazing, but I'm like... It's 2025 they've put on the trailer, probably going to get pushed to late 2025. What's the point in even thinking about it? There really is no point. We've got 5 games on our list here that we've listed. We've got one that's kind of shared between us, but these are coming imminently, so why not focus on those? Agree or disagree?
Oh, no, 100% agree. I think as well, I know obviously it's hard with a game like GTA 6 in particular, but you enjoy, I think the less I know about things, the more I've enjoyed them, especially films less, I guess it works for all media, but as long as you kind of know you're tapped in to know it's coming, watch one trailer, then wait for with games, you're probably going to wait for a review. I am, because 50 to 70 UK pounds is a lot it's an investment. You don't want to be wasting that. So, but that's all you need. That kind of, little bit of buzz, trailer.
Yeah.
A couple of reviews from trusted sites, and then go in. That you'll enjoy it much more than getting on the hype train and being, doing the apps and deciding what a story should be in your head, waiting 7 years and being wildly disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, one game that we're both playing at the moment, kind of almost parallel, quite a bit in front of you, in fact, is Alan Wake 2. I'm just thinking, there were people that loved the original Alan Wake and had to wait literally 13 years for it. So I wonder what their kind of hype levels were. Where I was kind of indifferent, But it kind of crept
Yeah.
up on me, didn't get it at launch, saw the reviews, and I was like, that's scoring pretty well, and it's sounding like pretty interesting. And then since I've dived in, I've been overall pretty impressed. And again, that was a low radar one. Whereas, like you say, the likes of the Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, where I'd written the ending, it all joined up, it completed the saga, linked back in with the original Metal Gear, is what I had in my head, because it kind of said that in the trailers that it's going to come full circle, and it wasn't even close. And it was one of the most bitterly disappointing narrative pieces that I've ever had to experience. So I do agree with that approach. When you say you look at reviews, do you check the aggregate score? Or do you have like sites that you go to, or individuals even? I know a lot of people have streamers or YouTubers that they'll go to, but what is the process for just sort of checking on something? Because you don't want the review to reveal too much about the game if you've gone so long without knowing the finer details, but you do want to get an idea of, whether it's up to snuff, really.
I'm pretty broad with it, so really just the aggregate is fine for me, and then I will pick like one or two, and I don't even want to say they're not trusted, they're just, the big boys, Eurogamer, IGN, something of that ilk, and I, just to kind of read a spoiler-free review, and often I don't even read it all, I just
Scan
kind of...
through it and...
Yeah, just because I know by that, really, like with the aggregate score, I'm already then on board. It's purely then, that normally comes out, day of or a week or so, whatever it is. So that is your little bit of hype at that point. I'm like, brilliant. But I've enjoyed everything, all media, so much more since, like I said, since I've stopped following everything. I used to, follow all the websites, find bloody Empire magazine for films. I'm like, what am I doing? Do you know what I mean? It's a road to disaster, isn't it?
I remember you talking to me about Empire and saying that it was sort of ruining. I felt like that was a few years ago you binned that. Like it's good, been, over half a decade ago, even like that long ago. And I remember the process of you saying, "Yeah, I've just stopped doing it." This last year, whenever that was, you was like, "I've enjoyed films so much more rather than having Empire every month or whatever it was and getting the lowdown."
It's not an easy thing to do, though, is it? Because if you're kind of like a medium, you want to sort of, if you've got free time, you kind of want to read up and know what's coming, and hyping yourself for something is like a lot of fun, but. It is a bad path to be on, because you're only ever going to be most of the time disappointed, because it's not going to live up to in certain ways. I mean, it'd be interesting to know. Alan Wake is a great example. Like, I'm loving it. Is somebody else who's waited 13 years loving it, or are they annoyed with what they've done with it?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. It's having played both, it's very different. So if you're expecting more of that, you're not getting that, but you are getting, I guess, the narrative piece that maybe that's what people are most interested in. But yeah, it's interesting. It's actually, that reminds me of because I watch wrestling, like pro wrestling and whatnot, and there was a time when I used to listen to like podcasts that were current with it. They'd talk about all the backstage stuff, and then you'd have people saying, "Oh, this is what they're going to probably do next." It kind of just ruined. Like, the constant nitpicking used to really just annoy me. I was like, I can't even sit back and enjoy this, because from every corner, everything's got an issue, apparently. And what I took to do was I basically didn't listen to any of those podcasts for 3 months, and I still have them in my feed. I just listen to them now, almost retrospectively, and I'm like, oh, this is a bit more... Yeah. Like, they still moan, but it's already gone and past, and actually their predictions, you just think, well, that's not come true. I've started doing it with gaming as well. Like, I've just stopped listening to like gaming current podcasts, and I'll just get to them when they get to my feed from like in 3 months' time, which seems a bit batshit crazy, like for news stuff. But I just find that it's actually like an interesting wrinkle to that, because it doesn't suck you into all the noise around sort of the product or the show or the game that you're trying to enjoy. You're just kind of able to go back and sort of relive that period and think, oh yeah, that's sort of, I agree with what was going on there, or actually no, I disagree. But it doesn't matter at that time, because I've already processed and enjoyed said period. Yeah,
exactly. I think sometimes also like your opinion gets kind of, I don't know if I'm just a sponge or just a copycat, like it does. I feel like your opinion gets a bit tainted by hearing people talk about it really fresh, because you've almost formed an opinion already, especially if you do trust the people you're listening to. You're like, their opinion's my opinion. They're like, I've heard myself spout stuff like that. Oh, I've heard it's this, I've heard it that. But yeah I have, but doesn't mean it's true. I've not played it, so it's not actually my opinion at all.
No, absolutely. Well, look, that's a good little intro section that we'd normally do. I'll do the needful. This is Idle Game Chat, Dimp Digital's flagship video game podcast. This is the first, I'd say, normal episode of the year. The fantasy gaming draft has gone up, public feed and for Patreon. So that's up and out there. If people have missed that, definitely go and check that out. It's always a good laugh just hearing those two slag half the competitors off. Even though the Grand Prix is so hard, like ridiculous 60-odd games have to come through that. And trying to win it is proved difficult. But yeah, we're here every week mostly, unless there's a bank holiday in the UK, or if I'm deathly ill, which happened once last year. Although, because we've got game impressions, I just put our Street Fighter chat on there. That was an hour, done. So that didn't matter really. Patreon.com/Dimp Digital. That's the place to go if you want to support us. Join the community. Hashtag hand in pocket. Now for this episode, this show, this is a bit of a, as I said, a short-term preview of 2024, but we're also going to have a little bit of a look back as well, because we've got all of our stats in from the various wrapped/year in reviews from the different platforms that we've played on. And I wanted to touch on them. I'm not going to dig too deeply into them, but I thought it'd be interesting to compare the list, particularly on PlayStation, where we've got a level of parity, and we've played a decent amount of games each on there, whereas like Switch, I played one, which is interesting. And Xbox, interestingly, you didn't play any, and we'll get to all that. But I wanted to start off this Game is Most Wanted. No particular order here. These are all going to be just in release order. We have a little chat about them, what we're excited about. And then at the back end of that, there are some honourable mentions that I've got. And these aren't necessarily games that I'm going to play, the honourable mention. I'm actually more intrigued about how they do. Like, there's just a couple on there. I just want to track that and just see how it ends up coming out. But let's not beat around the bush much longer. So we've got the 19th of January 2024, and it's The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. That is on your list. That's on my honourable mentions list, purely because I'm not going to play this at launch or even this year, because I want to go back through Part 1, and I haven't got Part 1 yet. So it's sort of that blockage, and it's going to be like another year before that gets done. But this is a little £10 upgrade jobby for those that have the disc still, haven't traded it in, or have a digital copy of it. But you've recently replayed the PS4 version of this on your PS5. I don't know if you finished it, but
yeah, I did.
You did finish it. So I was a little bit surprised to see it on here, although I'm really looking forward to going back to this series when time permits. But talk to me about the Part 2 Remastered. Are you interested in this roguelike mode that they've put in there, or is that just a complete nonsense for you? You're not even going to try that?
Didn't even know they'd done that. What's happening there?
They're adding a new mode basically where, and this is really high level, you complete an encounter and it gets you to the next stage. You retain some stats over, and if you fail, you go back. It's one of those ones where you got to string together a few. I will say the combat in Part 2 is really good. So actually, it might be fun just to have a blast of that, because Ragnarok, God of War Ragnarok's got that Valhalla mode, which is a similar kind of idea, and the combat, and that's great. And I jumped into that over Christmas. And I was like, yeah, this is great to get back into, but as a main course, probably not what's required. But yeah, talk to me. Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. Is it going to get another playthrough? Is that what we're suggesting?
Yeah. I think these games, I don't know, it's not exact, but the first one now, in different forms, I've probably almost played it once a year for the last 5 years, perhaps. And that's kind of because, they've updated it as well and whatnot. And I've, so even when I wasn't maybe going to do it, I'm like, hang on a minute, new version, 70 UK pounds for that, but played it and traded it.
Yes.
And I've played 2 twice now. And I actually enjoyed it more the second time. So, and to be honest, I didn't realise I flew through it, because I saw on that stat thing it was like 11 hours, and I was shocked that I'd done it that quickly. I don't know if that was a second. Maybe I played it in 2. I don't know how it's been tracked, but I definitely beat it. But yeah, I love that game. And story, although controversial, is good. And yeah, seeing it now in its best form.
Yep.
Yeah, it was going to be the best way to play it. So, yeah, the only question really is when I play it, and do I play 1 first again?
Have you played Part 1, as in the remake that they did for PS5?
So I played it in all forms. So I played it on like the PS3 original, PS4 upgrade, and then PS5 remaster. So yeah, I think that's all 3 versions.
Yeah. So you'd be tempted to go back to that again, that remake from, was it last year or the year before? I can't remember what it was. That was a couple of years ago.
Well, no, because if I did, I've sold that, so I'll probably go back to the one that I've got, locked into my. I guess that was part of the 3 games, isn't it? The 23, is it one of those?
Yeah, I think it will be. Yeah,
I've definitely got it on my hard drive. Yeah, I've still got it. So that would be that version, which is absolutely fine.
Yeah. Well, you have a nice bump when you finally pop this one in. This one's retailing at 40 UK pounds on Amazon. I just checked it, and it's a £10 upgrade if you have the PS4 disc lying around, or if you've got it on your account somewhere. There's a lot of controversy about Part 1 because they were asking for 70 UK pounds for that remake. I mean, this absolutely is more reasonable, isn't it? It's not even a debate to be had about that. Like almost half the price. Granted, they haven't done as much work, but the effect's the same. It's bringing forward a game to the PS5, so we're going to get to play the best version of the Part 2 now. Yeah,
100%. I think this is, especially like a big majority of people have probably kept this game anyway. So £10 is, I know like other games have done this. It's just, this is the best way of doing it as a consumer, isn't it? It's almost a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I feel like even if you had no intentions of playing it soon, just knowing that that's there, it'd probably tease you back in.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I have thought about it, and I was like, why am I even thinking about it? Because it will, one day it will come onto that subscription service, but I think by then I'll be out of the subscription game. 2025, I'm free of all that shit. Game Pass, PlayStation, it's all gone. So I'm really kind of looking forward to that. But if it comes on before then, it'd be stupid not to use that. But they haven't put Part 1 on yet. That's been out a fair while. Yeah. That's what's resisted me from playing it, to be honest, because I was like, I feel like it should be on there soon, and therefore I shouldn't pay for it, though it has been on sale for 35 quid, which is much more reasonable. But again, if I've got the time to play it, it's a moot point, really.
That's it.
If it's sitting there collecting digital dust on the hard drive or even just in the library, there's no way this can really go wrong, is there? Like, I can't see how this can. It's going to be the best version of one of the great games of the PS4. Like, people are going to revisit this
at a fair price.
At a fair price. Like, I really can't think of much stink that's going to come onto this. It's going to annoy people. Sure. I mean, it'll start the whole debate about the game again, because I know it was quite divisive, and some people really didn't like the story or the narrative and other certain bits. But for those like us that loved it, it's a slam dunk. It's really easy for Sony to get a nice quick win come January.
It's a good start. It's a great start to the year, isn't it? Yeah. That's sort of like known entity that's come in, and for a lot of people probably haven't played it since release.
Yeah.
Like, was it 4 years now? I don't know. Yeah, like great time to go back in, I'd say.
Yeah. So the RRP is actually shown as 45 UK pounds, but obviously with the physical, you don't always get a discount actually from launch, do you? You normally get something off it, but it's either depending on how substantial it is, but you can find it lurking there. Like I said, if you've already got the disc, it's a £10 upgrade. But yeah,
those little rats at CEX have bumped the price up. I'd love to have tracked that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's gone straight up. I think a lot of people that have, like Biff. I don't know if Biff sold it, but I think he did. So he's kind of like annoyed at himself because it was a key to getting a cheaper version, which is one of the few advantages of this digital kind of life, is that you don't have the ability to do that. But then, how much money have you saved over the years? Probably a lot. Probably paid for several games that can be rebought for the money that's been traded in. But Last of Us Part 2 remastered, 19th for the first, 2024. That Factions game's basically dead, the online sort of version of this. Yeah. Just on a side note, was that ever of any interest to you? I mean, we didn't even see the bloody thing, but the idea of perhaps... did you ever play The Division?
No, but yeah, I mean, like, I've heard, to be honest, more for listening to you on your regular pod speaking about it, you're right. Like, I'm with you. That kind of weirdly, that zombie survival world just appeals to me so much. And having it with, like, the Last of Us mechanics sounds like a bit of a winner. So, yeah, I would have been pretty keen for that.
But it doesn't look like we're going to get that. If not, it's not coming very soon if we are. Number 2, again, this is just in chronological order. We go to the 2nd of February 2024. It's one of mine. It's Persona 3 Reload. So this is the remake of Persona 3. 12 months ago, almost to the day, this wouldn't have been on the list anywhere because I hadn't played Persona 4 or 5 by that point. But I did the groundwork for last year, put in hundreds of hours, I think over 200 hours. I mean, it comes out in the wash actually of my Xbox stats of like Personas and whatnot. And now I'm in prime position to take advantage of this remake of 3, which is kind of the first one in many ways, even though it's the third one. It's the first one where they got this formula down to a certain case. 2 and 1 are just no chance. They're really old as well. So I am really, really excited for this. It's coming at a reasonable time, like a month in. So anything I want to clean up from 2023, I've got time to, and then it'll be coming to Game Pass. So I just slagged off the subscription services, but again, I'll be able to profit from that and get involved with this. I mean, this was never going to appear on any of your lists, but I don't know if you had any queries or questions about Persona 3 Reload, where we can get you involved.
Well, no, I've got it on my gaming list, so I know it's definitely one. I mean, I'm curious about it. I don't really understand. What console did it originally come out for then?
Oh, Christ. It would have been... So Persona 4, I believe, was PS2. I believe this was PS2 as well. Let me have a quick look, because... what had happened, it got re-released several times as well. So there was like a portable edition that got released. Yeah, so PS2, PlayStation Portable, which was the portable version. Then we got like... that version came out again on PS4 and Xbox, but essentially it's a PS2 game, so that's sort of the age of it. And they're
bringing it up to like PS5 levels or PS4 levels.
Yeah, so I guess the difference between this. So one of my criticisms of Persona 4 was that was again a PS2 game, is it felt like a PS2 game because it had just been remastered. They'd done a little bit in terms of like modernising it, but the core fundamentals were still of a PS2 game. There was just some archaic kind of choices that people made back then that I don't think wash today when it comes to saving, and the dungeons were really, really repetitive and whatnot. This is more of a remake, so it looks like they're going to meddle with the structure slightly. It's going to be a bit more like Persona 5 is. So some of those quality of life improvements that have been made, they're going to transfer over into this. It will be interesting to see how much they can do, though, because it's still going to be at heart, like I said, a PS2 game from 2006. So I do wonder how much they can do. And I think actually in terms of a scoring, this will probably score weaker than certainly 5 Royal, and I would imagine 4 Golden as well. But it should still be a decent score unless they completely fuck it up, which they shouldn't do, but you've always got to be wary when things are that old. How much can you do with it all? But they're doing it's like a redo jobby. I wouldn't say it's Resident Evil 4 like, but perhaps maybe a Dead Space type thing where it kind of retains the same fundamentals and whatnot, and then tightens up on some certain things. But really, I think it's all up in the air. Like it could.
It's ideal for you though, with nothing, nowhere else to go in that Persona world. The fact that then you weren't going to go back to this, I assume. So
yeah, I mean the only other option would have been to play the re-release of Portable, Persona 3 Portable, which they didn't do anything to that really. It was just old tut basically. Didn't even have like maps you could explore. It's like a little menu, basically a little map menu. You just point and click to the doorway to go into like the shop, whereas this will have the running around the worlds and whatnot, which weren't present. So yeah, I mean there's a lot they probably need to do, but I just hope the main thing for me is that when games from this age are brought forward, it's like just make sure you balance it with and be kind with the balancing. Don't make it shit hard like it probably was back in the day. Well, I don't need that stress come February, but I guess we'll see. It'll be lurking, and I'll be diving in. Provided it's not a disaster, I must caveat everything on this list. I think it goes for both of us. It comes out and they're like, well, it's a 62. It's like, well, clearly something's terminally wrong with that, so probably won't bother. So just get that in there before people start coming back at us and threats going, oh, you just didn't play it. It was scored a 50. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not going to play Gollum levels to it, am I? Next one. This is our only joint game. And it's a bit of a surprising one for you, I would say. And you probably surprised yourself by putting it on here. But it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, 29th of February 2024. So if you look at the time I've got to do Persona 3 Reload, it's about a month, just shy of a month. It's one. I think it is shorter than 4. So it's like it's the first sort of one. It's the shortest of the 3. Depending on how much they've done, though, it might be a bit of a desire. If it's 150 hours, I'm in trouble with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So I hope it's not, but we'll find out. But yeah, I played the remake of this back in the day. I mean, I tried to play the original, but I was just never could get my head around the complexities of that, like materia and all. I just wasn't those active time battles. I couldn't work out anything that was close to turn-based or command-based, I guess you'd call this. I just couldn't fathom. Played Remake, though. Really, really enjoyed that. Played the DLC of Remake. Went back and saw like a playthrough of the original. Got the sort of base story. And then, yeah, played Crisis Core as well. So I've done that sort of little prequel to it, which seems important because they released it between Remake and Rebirth. So I was like, I've got to... Whilst I've done all the backlog of the lore from the original, I may as well just play this sort of updated version. And here we are with Rebirth. But this, I need to understand the history for you to get my head around this. Talk to me.
There is none, is the short answer. No. My only history of this series is playing Remake. Probably the first 4 hours, 5 hours. I got to the first boss anyway. I don't know how quick that is. That big reactor thing. Do you know, like the thing is, this is like such a famous series, and obviously probably the most famous game of the series. It's really, apart from Last of Us, especially in Q1, all the other games I'm kind of even milling at, they are all curiosities to me. Like, I want this to do really well. I probably will go back to Remake at some point because I've got it downloaded and I really enjoyed what I played. I can't even remember. I fell away for some game and just never went back. You've just kind of almost told me what to do in a way. In that I do feel like it's one of those things where I'm not going to get everything out of it without having played the original, but maybe watching a story walkthrough or something to kind of understand those key points and then kind of understand what these remakes are actually doing. But the fact that this is where it kind of opens up to some sort of open world, I believe.
Yeah.
I know that obviously that first one you completed. That's essentially the first area, and I don't know how much of this like what this one encompasses, but I'm just really curious to know if they can make something of this, because obviously for the people who care, it's massive.
Yeah, I mean, the remake, 7 Remake, should have by all accounts been a disaster. Like, they're fucking with one of the most idolised games from the 90s. There's no way you can't retain that 90s game. There was no point doing it. So they completely binned it, basically, and gone, it's full action. We're even going to, with the story beats, like, we're going to start pissing around with that and start doing... Like, they've done a really good job with it. Like, they've had to thread the eye of a needle and they've managed to do it. Now, can you do it twice with arguably a more ambitious structural game? Like you said, it's going to be open, massive open areas, open world. Like, that's very different from Remake. Remake is quite contained in those kind of core areas that you cycle through and whatnot. So I am curious of what they managed to pull out of this, if anything. But there's a risk. Like, same with Remake. I thought if you don't get it right, the fans that loved the original are going to come after you. And if it's not enjoyable to play fresh, the people that have picked it up for the first time are going to be like, well, what's this garbage? Why does everyone love this series? And then you've got to deal with that backlash. But they've said that classic thing where you can jump in and still... And I'm like, can you? Maybe you can. I don't believe when they say that. In fact, you can in most cases. What I've noticed is that you just get a bit more texture if you do the groundwork.
Yeah,
and that texture can really be like, I don't want to say game changing, but it can really enhance a game,
of course it will.
An experience.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of intrigue from the fans as to where they go with this one and what they reveal about what's actually going on. Because I still think there's so many theories about what is this 3-part remake, what they're playing at. And obviously I don't think we'll get all the answers until the very end, which will probably be part 3. But this is like typical, if you look at Star Wars, it's like an Empire Strikes Back positioning of it, and it's like, what does that set up for 3? And, you know, again, I've already rewritten the ending there by suggesting that, but this if it's a 3-part, that's kind of the structure you'd follow, wouldn't you? You'd go for that
I wasn't aware it was 3 parts. I didn't know that was confirmed. But I think they're tracking well with it at the moment, aren't they, this team? Because they're obviously 16 done well, remake done well. And I think it'll be the same. Won't be a perfect game, but it'll be, for those interested, it'll tick enough boxes that people are like loving it, basically, is what I would imagine. Probably with some caveats, but still a very good experience. That's what I would be guessing.
I've seen a couple of trailers of it, and it does look crazy. There's like chocobos climbing up like cliffs, and I was like, what's going on? I think I saw Cloud on a Segway as well. I was like, what's going on here? But that's all fascinating.
Been a bit weird.
Oh yeah, that's all part of it. Like it's a complete nonsense at times, but it's good nonsense. So it seems like they're keeping that up at least. But even the title Rebirth. What are we doing there? It's going to be a fascinating one to see. I'm hoping I can clear reload before that. I should be able to, but if I get lazy or complacent, I'll be in a bit of trouble there. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, 29th of February, leap year day. So that's a interesting one to do. So got that to itself for 4 years at least until that happens again. Another day at work. We do get conned by that, don't we? Like we do literally work an extra. That should be a bank. That should be a bank holiday. Well, does it, or does it just push everything a long one? It's what I can't work out.
Well, no, it's an extra day in a year. Oh yeah, I don't know. Actually, it's a good point. Because then, maybe.
Well,
I guess it depends what day of the week it falls on, and then where the year wraps up.
Yeah.
Because if it turns like what would have been a Sunday finish into a Monday, you're then potentially going to work or whatever.
That's too much. That's going to Alan Wake-esque, talking about stuff like that, go down rabbit holes and whatnot. Next one. So we skip into March now. 20th of March, 2024. This is one of yours. Alone in the Dark. So this is a remake of the 1992 original. And just off air, we were kind of discussing about whether you'd even signposted the right series as to this. But this is going to be a third-person kind of remake of it. And survival horror we've been eating very good in the last 18 months or so. I know a lot of people didn't like Callisto Protocol. I think we both enjoyed it for what it was. Then we got Dead Space, then we got Resident Evil 4, then we've got some of the DLCs related to Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Village DLC we've gone back to, and then obviously at the moment Alan Wake 2 is sort of kicking off as well. We're kind of on this streak which hasn't happened. I don't remember a streak like this for survival horror in a long time. And Alone in the Dark could fuck it all up, if I'm honest. But you seem to have confidence in it.
It's not confidence. It's more just, again, I'm just curious. I want it to do well. It is like a revered horror game back in the day, and I've never played it. I don't actually know that much about it. I'm curious to know, can they turn it into something that modern audiences, want to play?
I think if you follow the modern templates that have been set by those games that I've mentioned, and even those before it, it should be out. It's doable. I don't know whether the source material will be as compelling as something like Resident Evil or even Alan Wake, but you could still get a good horror game out of it. Unless it ends up like the Medium. I don't know if you ever played the Medium, that sort of dual world one.
I briefly, it promised a lot.
Well, exactly. It was trying to do something a bit. It wasn't. This for all intents and purposes to be a straightforward third person survival horror type game. I know I remember you came on here and shit all over the Evil Within at a time when we were desperate for something, and you still went, "That's not good enough," and sent them back packing. But I enjoyed it for what it was, and also too, I feel like it's going to fall into that category rather than what we've had the last. Not as low as the Callisto Protocol, although who knows these days, but it feels much more like an Evil Within style kind of delivery, which I'm fine with, but I wonder how you would feel about that, because you did crap all over that back in the day. Sort of almost killed the genre off for everyone with that sort of reception.
Basically, all I've played this year is survival horror, so I need my next fix. So, I mean, the thing is, if I don't know what did Callisto actually get then rate, overall 60 something,
which was appalling. Yeah, that's way too low.
Yeah, it's hard. The thing is, I'd probably if it came in anything below like 75, I'd probably have to like wait for someone I know who's played it to get you basically to be like, look, would I enjoy this? Is there something there for me? But like I said, I'm just curious. One, I'm just sort of keeping tabs on now. I'll be curious when it comes out what it scores. I haven't got it in any of my lists or anything. I think I must have had it somewhere in my fantasy list, but low down. So yeah, I'd be interested to see what it's like when it comes out.
Yeah, it's on my honourable mentions, and as I said at the top, it's kind of more of a intrigue. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'll be all survival horrored out, but maybe by then it'd be a long time, wouldn't it? That's nearly 3 months, so by then I won't have necessarily played one between then, so I might be ready for it again. But I am fascinated to see how this pops out, because although I'd say it's a famous franchise because it's one of the first, it doesn't seem like it has the same fanfare as a Resident Evil. And obviously, Evil Within had Mikami, who was directing it, who was Resident Evil Godfather, so it had that at least attached to it. And Callisto Protocol had Glenn Schofield, who was the Dead Space guy.
Yeah.
And then Dead Space was dead. Like, this doesn't have... I don't think that this is on that level. It's been gone for so long that people have either forgotten about it. But I don't know if you downloaded that prologue, that free prologue that I flagged to you. I should play that, really. That'll probably give us an idea of how it's shaping up. It's like a little playable half-hour sort of PTS type thing. It's free, so that'll give us an insight, I think, to how it's kind of tickling along. But Alone in the Dark, 20th of March 2024. Final one. This is my one. Maybe a bit of a left field one, considering I haven't played the OG or the original one. It's Dragon's Dogma 2, 22nd of March 2024. This is purely down to people bigging up the original, saying, look, it had problems, don't get me wrong, but there's something really good there, something kind of special there. It was kind of a first go at it. It came out at a time when Capcom was sort of all over the place, sort of doing toot and doing well. And now that they're consistent for these last, few years or so, they've just been nailing it. I just think, got to back them. Got to back them to produce something here, which could be really, really intriguing. As to whether I'm not going to go back and play the original, I don't think, because I won't have time, but definitely be watching some sort of recap. There's even a Netflix show of it, which I think has got awful reviews, but kind of tempts me into it. But do you know much about Dragon's Dogma? Do you even remember the original back in the day? Like,
I know nothing about this game. No.
It's tricky it's an action role playing game at heart, but it kind of has this Dark Soulsy type feel to it, and like major bosses that you can mount and get on and whatnot. And then it'll have this really, like, the day-night cycle that's introduced and used actually matters. Like, it's much harder at night. There's like stamina debuffs. It's harder to see different enemies come out. Like, it actually plays into that, whereas a lot of games claim that, and it's no different.
Yeah.
And one of the most intriguing things, you can sort of upload your NPC. They're called pawns, like as in a pawn off a chessboard. And you can also download other people's pawns. And these are AI companions that come into your party. And depending on, say I've gone through 2/3 of the game, and you download one of my pawns, and it's like Jeff or whatever, let's get Apps' Jeff in here to see what he's like. It have all the stats and build that I've given him. It'll probably be scaled to your level. But as you go through the game, he will have knowledge of further on. So he'll say, oh, over that hill, there's a big sort of enemy inbound and whatnot. So it's when I hear things like that, I just think, surely there's intrigue and interest. Like, there's a chance for that to be something really special. And given that Capcom have just been on fire, apart from that Exoprimal dinosaur tutor they've released, and given this is beloved amongst the hardcores, I really do think this could be a bit of a stunner if they get everything right, like they have been doing.
That's it. They're on that hot streak, and that little mechanic alone it sounds like something straight out of the next Dark Souls. Really, I like that.
Yeah. So Dragon's Dogma 2, March 22nd, 2024. Have you got any other honourable mentions? Any other intrigue ones that you had lurking on a list near you?
Not really, if I'm honest, mate. Like I said, even really the game I'm looking forward to, knowing I'll play it, is Last of Us. Everything else is purely more intriguing me at this point. I'm not none of the games we spoke about do I
Surely got to get
I'll
Persona,
play.
mate.
No, it's on the list. It ain't getting played though. It's on my fantasy list. I tried, like I said, I think it'll be good. It ain't for me, but no. So no, nothing else.
I've got a few here. I've got. This is purely interest. Suicide Squad.
Oh my god!
Like what? How does this game even fare in this world now? After last year, it was just made very clear by people that people didn't want it. So much so they delayed the game and may have structurally changed the live service elements or removed them. But still, like I just felt this game's done. It's toast. And it hasn't even been released. Like it doesn't even matter if it's even good or at a decent level. It's just gonna people be like, no, not interested, and that's your lot. And it's another DC failure. And Rocksteady, who've done the Arkham games, so well revered. They've been gone since 13, 14, I think it is, 10 years. It's just going to be a real shock to the system when people just get their teeth into it and go, nope. And I don't think it's going to get a fair shake either. So I think whatever the score is will be, you could probably add 5 to 8 points of like just spite from certain areas, but who knows?
But
it's intriguing nonetheless.
No Man's Sky, Cyberpunk. I don't know what they could do in what's it been, a year or whatever, but it will be interesting to see for sure. But I agree with what you said. It's almost certainly going to get crapped on unless they've done some kind of Hail Mary with it.
Weird, isn't it, how games just get tarnished and it's kind of over for it. I actually think the casuals might pick it up and play it because it is. I think that Gotham Knights was actually another example of people like no. Amongst like the enthusiast crowd and sort of just completely soured the water before anyone got a taste of it. And then when it came out, it was like, yeah, no, I weren't interested and still aren't. I'm like, did you even try? Did you even give that a fair shake? And these aren't necessarily great games, but there's a bit of overcorrection, I think, that goes on for certain things. Get the daggers out, and that's your lot. But I'm more fascinated to see just what the conversation is around that. More than anything, and I think Biff's got it in his fantasy gaming list. I just couldn't believe he would take that risk after last year's debacle, but each to their own. And then got Helldivers 2. Now, this is a multiplayer squad-based game, super hard. I never even played the original, but this I'm intrigued simply because Sony are publishing it, so it's kind of one of their second-party deals, and Sony have really slowed up on the releases, and there's another game coming later which they're sort of firing 2 out within a month of each other, and Helldivers 2 is one of them. I think you can always rely on Sony to have something usually, but this is completely out of their wheelhouse. Like it is a squad-based multiplayer game. We're so used to crafted story, action adventure, The Last of Us Part 2, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, like all these games that have kind of God of War that have put their fingerprints and said this is what we are as a publisher. This is not in that wheelhouse at all. So there's kind of a few things I'm interested in. One, is it any good? And two, again, what's the reception like? Because they've stated several times that they want this live service to be part of their game portfolio makeup, and this will be the first one really. It'll be fascinating to see how it goes and whether it can survive in this brutal world where people just don't want things.
Yeah, that's a lot of big shoes to fill. They're not filling shoes; they're like trailblazing. But yeah, that will be fascinating. To be fair, knowing that what they've said, this is game one. Their first party, second party stuff generally very good. So, interesting.
And the final one is Rise of the Ronin, which is again published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, developed by Team Ninja. So they're the guys that did that Neo series. So it was either this or Dragon's Dogma. They actually come out on the same day, I think. 22nd. So that's going to annoy people certainly because there'll be a big crossover, I think, for this. But what scared me off is that the last time Sony got into bed with Team Ninja, we got Neo and Neo 2, which were good games. Like they were fantastic for what they were, but they are Souls games. They're really hard. Like extra hard in some ways, harder, many say. And it didn't have that open world element either. That Elden Ring sort of come along and had it as much more segmented and whatnot. But this is apparently open world. I just hope it's a bit... I hope they don't get out their own arse and it's like a balanced game that fits more in an easier kind of bracket. I'm not up for Neo 3 with Rise of the Ronin.
Yeah.
But that is what they did last time, so that's what I'm pegging it towards. Wolong Fallen Dynasty as well, which they released on Game Pass. Yeah, I just think it's surely going to be that, but hope I'm wrong. Again, it's Sony Interactive Entertainment. They've done this before. I expect it to have that level of difficulty, but who knows? They might throw me a bone there because that could decide it. If it turns out it's more of a Ghost of Tsushima than a Dark Souls, I'll definitely be more interested because. I don't know about you. I like to play the Real McCoy from Software when they drop something. The copycat stuff. And it's not copycat, but the stuff that's influenced by it, I tend to just fall off quite quickly. I remember I played the alpha of Neo and I was like, good, but I just can't be arsed.
So I've pretty much just steered away from it. I don't think I've, apart from like the sort of 2D stuff, like what's the little fella? Silk Song.
Hollow Knight,
Hollow Knight, which is obviously very different, but just some influence. But that's as close to a copycat I've got to, really.
Yeah, I mean, last year we had Lies of P, which I almost got snarled up in. I'm kind of glad I didn't in the end. I got spoiled on the ending, and I was like, you know what, I don't need to worry about that now because I don't think I would have enjoyed it. I don't think it would have mattered, but. And then we got that Lords of the Fallen got remade and whatnot. There's a market for it because they both sold over 1 million copies, so they're doing pretty well. But I'm kind of interested to see where this one fits. I hope it's slightly more towards the easier side, but history would suggest it's not. Anyway, that's all I had on the honourable mentions list, and that's our little look at Q1 for 2024. 5 games on The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, Persona 3 Reload, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Alone in the Dark, Dragon's Dogma 2. Just this, we are now overreaching past the first quarter, but hardware for 2024 feels like it could be a busy year. The Switch, Super Switch, Switch 2, whatever we're calling it, feels like it's almost certainly coming later this year, probably like holiday time, Christmas time. And then there's rumours that the PS5 Pro may well also arrive on the scene. Either of those, from what you know, which is not a lot, we don't know a lot about any of them, but based on expectations, rumour perhaps, any of those a day oneer, or will it be like... I mean, PS5 Pro won't have a bit of software that comes with it and says this is the PS5 Pro showcase, but you'd expect Nintendo will come with something, and it may well be a 3D Mario. I'm making up my own narrative, and again, if it doesn't come and it's like WarioWare, I'll be like, well, that's not what I asked
But that
for.
would be my thinking, though. Basically, I didn't get the PS4 Pro, so would I get the PS5? I don't know. It's the honest answer. Depends what's happening with those specs and what that means.
Your old eyes aren't going to see it, as you say.
Exactly that. Switch, on the other hand, I'm ready. Whatever version you've got, I've got the OLED model now, and it's still it's creaking. So I'm going to get rid of that very soon, actually, because I've played everything I want to play. Don't think there's anything.
Princess Peach Showtime.
Ain't happening.
Mario versus Donkey Kong.
List. Get them off. No, they'll probably announce something, and I'll be annoyed. But whatever. I've got to get shot of it sooner or later. And then you would always expect with them day one something's coming. The only thing is the likelihood is it's something that's basically coming out on the Switch with that install base, and you'd just be ported over anyway. But whatever. Go on.
Well,
no, I just mean, but I'm ready for an update of that, and I like having a Nintendo console, so I will feel a bit, even though it literally gets dusted off and played annually, essentially. I like having it, and it'll be a shame when I've got rid of my Switch. So hopefully you're right, and it comes out this year, and hopefully it's decent. Yeah.
I do like having it for sure, the Switch. I've almost down tools on it, and when we go through the wraps, you'll see that in the stats. Like, it's just... you said annually, but honestly, it was one game last year I played on it. So I'm at that stage now, I'm just waiting, and I think if you're being sensible, it really should have something that I desperately want to play on this newer console, whether it's going to run better or look better, or there's be some sort of advantage to doing it. But it has to have something initially there to hook me. And I made this mistake with the Xbox Series X. It had nothing that I couldn't play elsewhere. And I bought it, and I bought Assassin's Creed Valhalla because I had to get something for it. And then for months, it just kind of sat there doing not a lot. And I thought, that was a real waste. Like, I'm trying to get in the mode of software needs to be there to get me hooked in and get me going. So, I mean, the 3D Mario would probably do it. But anything shy of that, I would, like, if it's a port of Tears of the Kingdom, maybe, because that was kind of the reason why I didn't play it in 2023, because I was like, I'm just going to be patient. There'll be an enhanced version for the Switch 2 or whatever it is. So that may well tempt me in. But outside of that, it's those two. If it's anything else, if it's Mario Kart 9, I'm going to be like, oh, I can miss that, because I don't know about you, I play solo, and occasionally, like, the Switch get wheeled out, but I'll sit there and play Mario Kart on my own. Like, even if it's as good as it, like, it doesn't appeal to me playing against the fucking AI. I don't know.
No, it's not built for that.
No. So would you get it regardless? So even if let's say in this world it's Mario Kart 9.
I wouldn't get.
Oh, okay.
I'll get it. I wouldn't get it day one.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what. Yeah. I mean, I would eventually crumble and get it because it'd be silly not to. There'll be something eventually.
Yeah.
But I'm super interested to see, because the original Switch, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, they do normally release them with a system seller. It'd be unprecedented, I think, for them not to do that.
Yeah, and like you said, I think you can safely assume it'll be on the other Switch as well. So if it is 3D Mario, it'll be on OG Switch and the new one, like Breath of the Wild was with Wii U, wasn't it? Which you played it on original hardware.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is this is the first time in a little while the Wii, I guess, would basically where I feel like it's like one, and then they have a bad console, good console. In that what was it, GameCube? That actually had that was having a what was it, Twilight Princess, and then basically that was the final game for that, and then that was not doing well, so they had the Wii out and it got ported to the Wii. Wii done really well. Yeah. Then the Wii U was shit, had Breath of the Wild on it, and then they had to quickly, rethink things and get it ported across. They're in the better position now where they don't, in terms of numbers, the Switch is doing great. They could release anything that's first party, do well. Yeah. And probably a lot of these people don't care what's coming out. But so, you would think, I would like to think whatever they're doing, they're planning well, spent time on it, and it releases well when it's ready and is, ready to get people excited for Nintendo again.
If it wasn't backwards compatible, how much of a bitter blow would that be to you? Or are you like not that bothered by it? Because I've got a library of stuff I've bought and not played for various reasons, not because I was waiting for this, but like fucking, I've got like Owlboy, I don't know, just weird stuff that for some reason I was like, oh, I'll get it on the Switch, I'll get Sonic Mania on the Switch, and then eventually I was like, I don't want to play the Switch anymore. Like, it's just got to that stage. Right. So I've got stuff that I would ideally want to play on my new one without having to keep the old one. But if it wasn't there, that would give me a bit of a dilemma, because it's like, do I leave behind all those games and that investment, or carry it forward? It's probably a bit different for you, because I suspect you just buy things, play them when you want. You buy them when you want to play them. You do it, and then that's the end of the process. It
is, but it really annoyed me, because especially on Nintendo stuff where they've kept closing down their stores, and then the amount of times I've bought things like a Castlevania collection, and I'm like, I ain't doing it again. Like, I need to. I don't care if I don't need to be able to play my Switch cartridges on it, but I want that store. That digital store needs to remain and track with what I've already bought. I don't stop making me buy things multiple times.
Yeah.
With that. It wouldn't stop me, but I'd be frustrated. And I mean, problem is you let them off, don't you? It's like some fucking pervy old uncle. You're like, oh, it's Nintendo. They just do it, don't they? It's all right. It's not all right. Yeah, but you just give them a pass.
Yeah. Interesting to see. PS5 Pro for me I'll probably get that day one. And if it was an Xbox Series X enhanced, I'd do the same thing. I just spend most of my time in and around the console space, and the third part. What it will do is it will completely remove any need to concern myself about a third party game. And again, let's use Alan Wake 2 as an example, where to buy it, because it will inevitably just run better on the PS5 Pro. So, considering how much time I spend on the consoles versus PC and Switch, it's almost a no-brainer. Even if the upgrades are quite minimal, just knowing that that's the place to get them on the console and on easily compatible with the OLED. I've tried to do PC stuff lately, and it's again the problem of this monitor here is not as good as that. I put it on that, and this thing won't run up to snuff on that. So it's just easier to sit in the console space. So obviously, if it comes out and it's £800, I'll be like, well, obviously not. But there's rumours it could be an expensive one because they're looking for a significant upgrade. But I feel like these rumours always circulate. But interested to see what they do, because Xbox have basically said we're not doing that, and I feel like you're conceding just easy wins. Like I got the One X I think they brought out, which was a year after Pro, and immediately all my third party purchases went on Xbox for that last sort of year and a half. So don't know, we'll see. But that's what we're expecting on the hardware front. I don't think we're expecting anything else. Let's take a quick look back at 2023, as I'd promised earlier, with this Wrapped, as they called it, this year in review type thing. Basically, the platform holders track what you're doing for your accounts, and at the end of the year, it annoys me they send it out on like December the 12th. I'm like, fuck off, I ain't done yet. It's 2.5 good weeks of gaming to be done here, and then there's still people doing it. I was like, what are you doing? You finished playing for the year? Just want to get ahead of the game. It's like fucking Black Friday. Let's get it out there in October. Get on there early. Get all the punters in. I'm like, no. So I purposely waited until the year had ended before doing mine. So anyway, I've got Steam, Xbox, Switch, and PlayStation for us. You didn't have Xbox, which we'll get to, or Steam. So I'll quickly run through those. I'm not going to go through all the stats. So top 3 games played on Steam for me. WWE 2K23. I think I played 3 matches, so it was a lot of simulating. Fire Pro Wrestling World, so again, haven't played 1 match of that, just been simulating. And then Jurassic World Evolution. So that's this powerful PC being wheeled out for those 3. I played 5 games in total, but the other 2 obviously didn't meet the minimum requirements. This is interesting. Steam uses median number, so sort of the average of what the Steam user base plays is only 4 games a year. That seems low. But then
that is very low.
That is, I mean, you think about the uber casuals.
Yeah.
And there's probably people that just buy 1 game and then don't even play it, or people buy a lot of games on Steam and don't play it. Adkins just bought another fucking truckload of about 15 games. Like, when are you going to get to them? And he's like, I don't know. But those Steam sales track people in. But anyway, that's Steam. Now, Xbox, I wanted to just pause, because I was sure that you had played your Series S, because at some point you had Game Pass with the Series S, and you had to go at like Immortality on there. There was other games. I don't know what you were playing on there necessarily, but
we would have played the Turtles game on there, wouldn't we?
We played the Turtles game, yeah.
Yeah,
Shredder's Revenge.
Mm.
But anyway, I thought in 2023 you would have at least booted it up and played something on there. And when you said it doesn't work, I was like, he's fucking done his login wrong in here or something like that. So I found your account, looked in your achievements, and no, you were right. The last game you played was in September of 2022. So that Series S is the ultimate dust collector. What's happened? What's Phil done to chap your ass so you don't want to load up that Series S?
I kept seeing that money coming out, and I just wasn't actually playing anything. So I thought, I'm just going to stop the subscription. And the thing is, with the games I can play, like the limited time I've got, they're filled with like other games I'd rather play. There are games now I know that are on there, Cocoon being probably the prime example, that make me think, do you know what? I will at some point restart my subscription. That'll be the first game I play, and then I'll sniff around what else is there. Yeah. But there just isn't.
It needs to come at a time when you're not playing anything else. You need like a gap.
Exactly. And most of the games that come out where, I haven't got a huge amount of time, there's normally always something, a level above what's on Game Pass that I'd rather be playing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because most of the games on there are those kind of, there are obviously huge games, like Starfield and whatnot.
Yeah.
But what I mean, where I would use it is in that kind of smaller indie space, or do you know what I mean? Those kind of releases, and they're just not as normally as big. They're the kind of games, genuinely, like Immortality, where I think, I didn't even know this was dropping.
No.
And I need to go back and finish that actually as well. Mm-hmm. So that's the way I use Game Pass, and because I wasn't, it made no sense to have it, even though it's only a small investment each month. It was still a waste of my time having it.
It's interesting that that renders the device useless to you. Like, it's kind of Game Pass or bust, because it is an S.
Yeah.
Like, anything that's on the PlayStation, you'll get on there because it will most likely run better than that. And it's interesting. That's kind of like, it's all or nothing for that, and that it kind of sits there. Anyway, Xbox. So apparently I played 11 games on the Xbox, which is just under a game a
decent.
month. Yeah. 201 achievements, so not too bad. This year, I thought this would be the first time since the Xbox One X, so we're talking before the PS5 and Xbox Series X generations, pre-2020, that I'd put more hours in on the Xbox because of those Persona games. Two of them, like one at 150 odd hours, the other one at 90. I was like, this is going to surely overturn the PlayStation number. Total of 337 hours logged into this Xbox. Top 3 games: Persona 5 Royal, no surprise there. Number 2, Persona 4 Golden. Number 3, State of Decay 2 Juggernaut Edition, which I got sort of snarled up into.
That's a recent one, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a nice little surprise to jump through that. Top 15% for hours played, apparently, across the platform. That's the group I'm in. Top 5% for gamers' score and achievements, so sort of elite group level gaming there. But that 337 wasn't enough, and we'll get to the PlayStation in a second. So PS5 did win out, but that was the closest it's been for a while. And look, these numbers, I'm not convinced about all of them. Like, I'm sure I've had the Xbox on for 337 hours, fiddling around, downloading, letting it download stuff, and keeping it on for that. So I think that has played into it, but nonetheless, an improvement on what last year was. Let's get into the important stuff, the ones that we've got some parity for. It's the Switch, first of all, for you. So total hours for you, 114 hours and 5 games, which is a good, decent haul. Once every almost once every couple of months, but not quite. I had 1 game and 21 hours. So went on there for one reason, done it and binned it. It was Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime Remastered. Done it, put it down, never turned the thing back on again. Really been disciplined to not give them any of my time unless there's something on there. So your top 3 games were Tears of the Kingdom, no surprise there, 76 hours, which is a good haul. Bayonetta 3, don't know how you feel about that as number 2.
Oh, God, yeah.
28 hours. And then Super Mario Brothers Wonder, 9 hours, which is not too bad. Most played month for you was June, 39 hours, which I assume is Tears of the Kingdom. That was like May, of May into June, wasn't it? So that was like a full month of Zelda there. My most played month was February with 12 hours. But 5 games, is that enough?
I don't even know what the other ones were. They're probably minuscule. Me booting something up and turning it off.
Yeah, I mean, one year the Switch definitely put games in there I hadn't played. I was like, I didn't. I simply didn't. Like, I had Animal Crossing. I haven't played that for 3 years, but Anyway, PS5 next. I haven't got the total number of games you got because you cut it off the screenshot, which was helpful. But you put in 104 hours and scored yourself 91 trophies. Top 5 games are as follows. Resident Evil 4 was number 1, which you'll be pleased with. Street Fighter 6 was second. Third was the Callisto Protocol. Fourth was Dead Space. And fifth was The Last of Us Part 2. What's interesting is on your tile, it says The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. I'm like, it can't be, it's not out. They've already assumed that you've been upgraded there. And I was like, you won't get upgraded either. What do you think of that as a top five? There's a lot of survival horror in there. I mean, I'd argue Last of Us Part Two is a horror game at heart. So that's that's 4 of the 5 in my view. And then Street Fighter just to break up all the dreariness.
I think basically what I've realised is that all I play is horror games and remakes, and all I'm interested in is remakes and horror games. Like, I need to sort myself out, really. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, I'd because I don't play a huge amount, I'd pretty much be able to tell you what it would have looked like. The only surprise really is like how much. Callisto Protocol felt shorter than that. I think because I really, like I said, the weird thing there was I bizarrely enjoyed my time with that more than Dead Space. Dead Space felt like a real drag, but was quicker to blast through. It's a weird one. Yeah, it just shows you if you're enjoying yourself, time does go quicker.
Well, the interest as well. It has like a breakdown of your activity throughout the year and which months. It's not normally that interesting, but what was interesting was your PlayStation. I think you had a game time in every month other than May and June, which was Tears of the Kingdom territory. So a clear sort of pattern there of like, oh, I'm on that. Just starting back to those Switch games, Tears of the Kingdom, Bayonetta 3, Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Is that up to snuff for you? I mean, Wonder and Tears of the Kingdom widely regarded as great. Bayonetta sort of on the cusp of being good, but let down by certain things. Is that a strong Nintendo year for you in terms of the games you played?
No, did you know what? I remember like when we used to speak more about their situation before the Switch, and my one big hope when they dropped the 3DS was then, they're not developing for 2 consoles, and you should see a real uplift in first-party content. I just don't feel that's happened at all. As in, the quality's always been there in Nintendo, apart from Pokemon, as you always say, but it doesn't need to be good.
It doesn't. It's obvious.
Just their output is just I guess third-party support is a lot better now than it has been for a long time. Yeah. But I don't feel like anyone gets a Switch for the third-party stuff. Really, there are the odd little indie that comes out and you're like, that's a perfect Switch game. Hades for me was that game. I was like, this is great on Switch, love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, because I always feel like the Switch is my second console, or third even in some cases, it is fine. 2 decent games, that's all right. But I feel like, we're all in a sort of privileged minority that have enough disposable income to buy multiple consoles. I don't feel like most people have that luxury.
Yeah, and I went through like the stats. It was a bit of a small, data set, but I picked all the games that had scored 85 or above on OpenCritic, and it had got a certain amount of reviews. I think it was 50. It's like the average amount of reviews. So that there's stuff on there it scores like a 92, and it's got 3 reviews, and that isn't. No one's playing that. No one's interested. So let's cut those out. And it was interesting to see that just on raw numbers, the Switch had the lowest because the third-party support just wasn't there. I think it was like 13 games or something. All the others were like closer to 20. But then what was extra interesting was like 3 of the top 5 games were Nintendo games. So if you look at the highest scorers, Zelda being up there at second, and then Mario Wonder lurking as well. As a solo console on its own, I think it's a tough sell still.
Yeah.
You just miss. So, I mean, let's look at just do your PlayStation list. Resident Evil 4, can't play that. Street Fighter 6, can't play that. Callisto Protocol, can't play that. Dead Space, can't play that. That's all available on other platforms. The Last of Us Part 2, granted, is a first-party one, but you just miss out on way too much for it to be, I think, for an enthusiast anyway, to have it as a sole console.
Always frustrated me really why they, and I know it's not as easy as this, but if they just got a system as powerful as the others with their first party content, there'd be a real argument for them being your premier console, no doubt. But it's not going to happen, is it? They just do what they want.
No, it's fine. It's kind of fine to have it sitting there, I find, because it's like you said, the stuff they do release is completely unique to the platform. And usually worth it, like more times than not. It's like, that was worth getting. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff, like we joked about Princess Peach Showtime, might be great, but
yeah, exactly.
Doesn't necessarily speak to us though. So you kind of have to wade through some of that stuff. Let's have a look. PS5 for me, so 17 games. 413 hours. I will say on the 413 hours, I definitely don't turn my PlayStation 5 off. I let it go into rest mode every time I finish.
Yeah.
So there's a 10-minute, I think it's 10 minutes it turns off. So there's always, after every session, there's an extra 10 minutes being added to it. So that may well have inflated that. 387 trophies and 4 platinum trophies.
There they are.
So 0 for Adcock, 4 for Apps. That's sort of a 4-0 drub. It's a landslide in many ways. Top 5, number 1 game, Final Fantasy 16. Number 2, F1 23.
Interesting.
Number 3, Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered. Number 4, Control Ultimate Edition. And number 5, Resident Evil 4.
Okay.
So again, 2 kind of remasters in there. 2 games from 2023 in Final Fantasy and F1. And the remake of Resident Evil 4, which was 2023. What do you make of that list?
It's interesting. I guess it's always going to be long, because that is purely tracking the time spent on the games, isn't it?
That 5 is, yeah. The 5
Yeah.
that you get in there is game time.
Yeah. Which I guess it's always going to be one like F1, isn't it? You go back to, and
Yeah, I really got hooked on that for a month or so. Like, I remember seeing it said 50 odd hours. Like, cool. Like, the story's only 10 hours, and that was the plan. Play that and get out of there. And I was like, I'll just play this stupid F1 world mode and see. And I was like, I can see why people get snarled up in this, but it still felt empty. Like,
Yeah.
I'd get off and be annoyed at myself that I hadn't played, quote unquote, something proper.
Yeah.
And then I started a career and did about 3 races, and it was like, they take like an hour to do. It takes like 3 hours to do a weekend, so you zap time by doing that. And yeah, it was interesting to see that in there, because I don't think that has happened before.
And I'm assuming Control's inflated because of a couple of pieces of DLC, right?
Yes, so that was, and also it was I got the platinum for it. That's one of the platinums that I did get.
Yeah, so what are your platinums then?
So Control was one of them. You know what? I can't remember what the other 3 are. I really can't remember. 17 games.
It's got to be Spider-Man, surely it's got to be one.
Well, so Spider-Man 2 was. I think I already had the platinum in Spider-Man Remastered. So that wasn't.
So by going through it again, would it count it? Or?
No, because that was one of the empty things about replaying it after I've got everything, was that there was no kind of platinum, or sorry, any trophies sort of pop in. I did notice that, and I was like, that's not a nice feeling. Let's have a look, see if I can get in there. Can you look by platinums? No. So God of War Ragnarok already had. Control, Marvel Spider-Man 2. I already had Horizon Forbidden West. Miles Morales I didn't have and got, so that's one of them.
Yeah.
And AEW Fight Forever. I platinumed that. There you go.
Nice.
That's the roundup. I was surprised that didn't make the list, because I spent a fair amount of time in that, but Resi 4 managing to hold on to that full spot. Dead Space not to be seen. And then, yeah, it was a good year. I mean, Final Fantasy 16 was like 70 odd hours, so that was a clear winner. But half the time I spent in Persona 5 Royal.
Yeah.
So that's what can be done. Anyway, I thought that'd just be interesting to look back at those. I think they should be a bit more robust. They're a bit of a pain to do, I find. They're a little bit like, it's like, share this. And it's like, well, it's not screenshot worthy. It wants you to share a link. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. So, but no, I encourage people to do them. Actually, by the time people listen to this, they would have expired, I think, unless you're on the Patreon. I think the Sony one definitely bans itself on the 6th. So if you haven't done it, you've missed the chance. But most of you would have done it in December like all the other flids, but that's that. Anyway, that's a little look at 2024 and a look at 2023. I'm torn on whether to put a game impression at the end of this. I don't know why. I feel like I should or not.
Right, it's gone on pretty long, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's an hour and 14 minutes. I mean, last year there was no qualms about chucking 2-hour episodes in, so
Stick a short one on then.
well, I haven't got any. I was just looking through them. They're all at least half hour. So, I'll just go with what you get a double dose of Adcock, Super Mario Wonder.
Yeah, shoot that in.
So get that in. That's quite a recent title. So we have a nice little bumper episode to kick us off, and you'll hear Pac-Man's fault. I just looked at the thumbnail. You're wearing a different top, so people won't accuse you of wearing the same clothes all the time. And
Nice.
so am I. So both of us there have done well. So I'm pleased about that because that was a concern for us. But yeah, Super Mario Wonder incoming. Pac-Man Adcock quiz champion gets a double bill to kick off 2024. We will see you on the other side. Here we are then, back with some game impressions to close out this edition of Idle Game Chat. You got Apps here, and I'm joined by Pac-Man himself, Tom Adcock, to talk about Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Other than Zelda, this was like their number 2 game for 2023, so this is a big one. It took us a little while to get to this. I was surprised at the lack of take-up from the Dimp people. Or at least they weren't forthcoming with it. Like Adkins kind of got it, but then his kid played it with him or mostly on his own. It kind of ruined it for him. Logan, who's supposed to dive into it day one, never did. And then sort of left to you to pick up the scraps. I've boycotted the Switch until this new one is out in my hands, providing that happens. So yeah, all on Adcock for this. Big pressure. It's Nintendo, your favourites.
Yeah, but Mario never really was my favourite, so
Interesting.
I'll always generally play them all, but never like massively. Even like the big 3D ones now, I'm sort of a bit like, do I like this? Am I enjoying it? Probably not. But yeah, I think I grew up on the 2D Marios though, so I've always got time for them. So I was quite keen when I saw this get released. It kind of was quite a quick turnaround from what I remember as well. I don't know when it was announced, but it felt like sort of 4 or 5 months later it was out. So
yeah, they did do a bit of a quick turnaround on that. If you like, are you more 3D or 2D Mario? Like someone said to you, look, we're going to flip a coin, or you can ask you, like, what do we do? What do we keep on making? 2 or 3D Marios? What are you going to ask them to do? Because you didn't like Odyssey, which is a disgrace to humanity. So.
Yeah, do you know what? I was sort of thinking about this myself, and I thought we'd get into this at some point, but it's as been mentioned, we can jump right in that because of, like it's not like I don't dislike 3D Marios. I just don't. I'm just not as keen on them as other people. I just sort of sometimes you wander in that sort of world, and you're just kind of like, oh, I found a star under a box. Like you're like, what have I done to get that? Doesn't feel like you haven't
it's all
earned
moons
it
now, isn't it? It's moons in Odyssey.
Or whatever, moons.
You'll walk through 3 coins and it'll go, there's a moon. You're like, well.
Yeah.
But there's like hundreds of them. They've just made quantity of moons. This is absurd.
Yeah. And it always just felt to me like, is this Mario? Where's the precision needed here? Where's the challenge? So I was always like, do you know what? 2D's where it's at for me. And I played a lot of Mario Maker, which obviously, the core game's good. I really enjoyed the building and, playing some other stuff online was really good. And I've had longevity in that. It's one of the only games I've kept to kind of go back to it and just see what's happening online and, get my little subscription up and I'll play for a while and then drop off again. So I'll definitely always say 2D. Having played through Mario Wonder, I'll get more into it, obviously, but now I'm like, I don't really know what I want. I think the last sort of Mario that I really, really, really enjoyed, my favourite of recent times would be the one that came out on Wii U that got ported over to Switch. I think I can't even think what it's called. The one where it's basically 3D, but it plays like a 2D and you're in set courses, so you have... You know what I mean? I can't think
is that
of
the
his
one they've
name.
now bundled with like Bowser's Fury?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Whatever that one is.
That was your sort of favourite.
Favourite of recent times, yeah.
3D World, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, but it was obviously 3D World before that, so
give me that. Give me 3D Mario in a 2D system.
You haven't got to piss around with the cameras and whatnot. It kind of just gives you the
and also
freedom.
Just exactly. It's just telling you get to a checkpoint, and then you're happy. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you know roughly how long you spent on this, on Wonder? Is this a sub 10 hour? Is it a sub 15, sub 20? Because I mean, it depends how far you take it. Like, I could have spent another dozen hours in Odyssey getting all the moons. Like, some people demand that you get 100%. You don't strike me as the 100% man for these after a while. So I'm interested to see what time you kind of bailed out and was like, I'm kind of done here. Because usually there's like an ending of sorts. It's like, well, but go back and find all this shit if you really want. But
yeah.
What was your sort of time roughly?
I honestly don't know. I would say probably just north of 10 hours. Probably.
Yeah.
Basically, I was quite thorough in that anything I kind of sniffed out, whether in the levels, you know, they do sort of pack a lot of secrets in, or in the open world, well, I say open world, overworld bit, I would do it. I didn't, but then once I got to the end, I know there is like a sort of, you know, like in Super Mario World, there's the Star World or whatever. Essentially, there's the same thing. And I found 2 of those levels, and they're like fucking hard as nails.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you know what? If they just gave me that world and it was linear, I would have played through it. I would have made it happen. But because you had to find those stages within the open world map, I was just like, do you know what? I can't be bothered. I've kind of thought about it. I thought maybe I'll just use a guide to kind of, you know, tell me where they are or whatever and do it. But
didn't want another Forest of Illusions in Super Mario World costing you.
10-year-old Tom had no problems, but every other Tom's struggled to get past that. So
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, I didn't go back. But like I said, I was quite thorough in my playthrough.
Did you attempt to play this with any sort of co-op element, or was it a pure? Didn't, because it might have been a good one for Sarah to jump in on. This is sort of how you get them. You say get kids started, so why not?
She ain't going to play this. No co-op, and nor did I choose any other characters, but purely because I read somewhere that although you've got options of characters, they all play exactly the same. So I was like, well, what's the point?
Oh, well, yeah. Was it Super Mario Brothers 2 where that wasn't the case, where they had like, you had Peach, Luigi, and maybe Toad and another fuck. They had different jumping distances, different you know, time to fall. All this stuff was actually quite different between them.
Yeah. I think jumping, like Peach would literally float, Luigi had a big jump. Yeah. I think Toad would pick things up out the ground quicker, which was actually quite key. Yeah. And Mario was your all-rounder or something. So yeah, they've definitely done that. And it seems surprising to me.
Didn't even get a mention.
No, he did. He sort of done a big floaty jump.
So he did a longer jump, slightly.
Longer, higher jump, I think, but
longer legs, innit?
So it kind of surprised me they didn't do something similar here, but yeah, I just then thought, what's the point? Mario's fine. Plays him.
He's the main event, isn't it? It's his fucking game. I don't get these people who are playing like a fucking small Toad when it's a Super Mario Brothers game. Like, look, if you have to pick Luigi, then do it. But you should really be playing these canically with Mario, as far as I'm concerned. Don't be messing around with all these other new heroes that have been introduced. It's not realistic. Because this game is very realistic, I've heard. So I'm interested to hear about that. Let's do the store page. This is off Games website because I'm sick of Nintendo's stupid... Everything's an animation. You have to scroll down, click things to unearth. I just want a synopsis, like just a little couple of paragraphs. Anyway, join Mario and friends in this new 2D side-scrolling adventure full of wonder. Surprises await round every corner in Super Mario Bros. Wonder on Nintendo Switch. Every course contains its own Wonder Flower. Collect one and anything can happen. From moving pipes to tilting terrain, bouncing hoppos and stampeding bulrushes, skydive into spacewalks. You never know what will happen next. You might even transform into something totally new. Wonder flowers are often hidden away within courses, so keep your eyes peeled for anything suspicious or out of the ordinary. Pick your favourite character and dive into the adventure with 12 different characters to choose from. It's the largest lineup in a Super Mario game yet. Players Luigi, Mario, Peach and more. They all play exactly the same way, so you can freely use your favourite character without having to worry. It's being sold to you here as a plus. Yoshi is immune to enemy damage and can... Oh, here we go. Yoshi is immune to enemy damage, can eat items and spit them out, and also performs trademark flutter jump. So that's the easy mode, isn't it?
They've backtracked there, though, haven't they? Not all the same.
No, that's...
fair enough.
I think they did that of Donkey Kong. There's one character in there that in the new version of like Tropical Freeze that like can't fall on spikes and stuff, and it's there to help less skilled players or youngsters, I guess, to get through that. But I love that you mentioned that. It was like, wow, they're all the same, so it's pointless. And then yet in this marketing spiel that's been written up, it's there as a feature, and that's interesting indeed. I daren't ask this, but I need to just be prudent and just make sure all bases are covered. Narrative, story setup. I mean, is there any? What's the base? I'm sure in Bowser's shit the bed again and causing havoc, and you just got to go off and fix it. But it sounds like Peach isn't kidnapped, at least for once. So
there's that bit different. Yeah, Bowser just causes havoc in a new kingdom.
Yeah,
I don't even know what the kingdom's called, to be honest. Is it the Wonder Kingdom, Flower Kingdom? Probably Flowers, I think.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, and he sort of turns himself into like a big, takes a star, turns into like a big castle. You kind of wonder what he's even doing. Why does he want to become that? You know, you sort of look at it and you think, what's he done to himself? How's he going to eat his dinner?
Turning to fucking weird. Resident Evil, isn't he? Just morphing into all sorts of shit.
Yeah, he's happy with that. And then, it's up to you to kind of go and sort it out. But at least it's a different world. It's not a kidnapped princess. So,
no.
I mean, you're not here for the story, are you? So it really makes no difference.
Imagine if it could produce a compelling story, though. I might give it an extra grade or two. Guess we'll see. Any technical performance issues? I mean, I doubt it. Nintendo's so good at this that they're one of the few developers and publishers that you can say, hang your hat on them, unless it's a Pokemon game, in which case I don't give a fuck. But
that's it. Yeah, no, flagship Mario. He's all good. He's in safe hands and absolutely no performance issues.
This is a game that was released in 2023 on the Switch, which is 7-8 years old as we record this. How did the game look and hold up these days? Did you play it handheld mostly to kind of give it its best chance, or did you put it on that beautiful big 4K TV? And if so, in either mode, how did it look?
I think I played it all docks, I think.
Bloody hell.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, pretty much. I don't think I ever... Yeah, I think it was a completely docked experience. So OLED pointless purchase. Let's get rid of that, really.
I did say, was it the Zelda one you got?
Yeah.
Yeah, the game that probably doesn't even use it, actually. It's probably like Metroid Dread that you want to be playing on that. Or so this was probably good. I'm sure this was very colourful and would have popped it, but again, you didn't use it, so you never know.
I think I'm going to get rid of this. After this, that's it for me in the Switch. But keep me to actually... Well, no, just purely, I'm basing it on you. That has to be announcing soon, that new console. There's nothing else lined up. And every time I kind of think about selling it, they announce something else.
Zelda DLC, expansion.
Exactly. But I'm like, I'm done. I'll get some sort of value for this and then sit tight for something new to come out. So, but yeah, I played this all, getting off on a tangent here. So yeah, no, all docked experience. And it looked great, to be honest. I mean, it's the one thing they can do. One, they know the hardware, obviously. Two, it's a cartoon. It's always going to look and hold up pretty well. Yeah.
I don't expect anything less of Nintendo. They really know how to utilise that. And like you say, flagship Mario, they're not going to just chuff that out with rough edges. It's going to be clean and smooth, and by all accounts is. So look, they're talking about these wonderful... look, this is a 2D Mario game at the end of the day. I don't know how much reinvention they can do. However, these wonder flowers that do transform the levels, people have seen... small snippets of that in the trailers. They would have undoubtedly have seen like the elephant Mario turning up. Was it elephant? I can't remember what it was, or hippo or some big fuck. Was it an elephant, wasn't it? And changing the way Mario or any of the other characters look, because as it said there, you've got 12 to choose from. How much does this add to what could be just considered a typical kind of 2D, platformer? Is this really the I don't say a watershed moment, but does it add some real good, compelling reasons for people that are perhaps on the fence to jump in and do it? Because I don't know a lot, because I don't want to know a lot, because I do plan on playing it. But crazy stuff can appear, and seems like there's ideas that people won't have thought of that are going to come through in this, and it's almost like a game within a game within a game sometimes, with some of the mechanics that can pop out of it. But you talk to me about all this flower mechanic and these wonder seeds and just how much they add to the experience? Because this is the USP of it, isn't it? At the end of the day,
it is. I'll probably dial back expectations a little bit. It's great.
Mate,
It's a
you're
Mario
telling me
game.
anything can happen.
It's fun. And
Tilt
the
in
so
terrain.
two gimmicks, I guess, or core mechanics, whichever way you want to look at it. One is those wonder flowers, like I said, hidden one in every level. And what that'll do is probably at a halfway point. Yeah, it's normally fairly obvious, to be fair, not what they're saying there.
Often hidden.
Well,
Keep your eyes
exactly. And yeah, I don't know. For an example, you might have spent the level jumping on old dinosaur bones. You hit the flower, the dinosaur under your foot turns into like a dragon, comes to life, and then flies you off into like, you might spend then a few minutes like having to balance on the dragon while he does, loop the loops and whatnot, and then you'll do that, and that'll give you one of these wonder flowers or whatever you get, and you carry on with the level. Then you'll normally be fairly near the end at that point. But they're really good at other times. So what they said in the thing, you might become like an enemy character and have their jump moves and stuff, and then you've kind of got to make your way again to across the terrain and get to where you got to get the flower. So it is interesting because they're the best bit of every level for sure. So that's what I'm saying. When I was quite thorough, I was like, if I missed it, I'd go back into the level, make sure I found it, because I was like, I wanted to see what was going to happen there. So that is good. And then I guess the gimmick or mechanic is like the Mario suits or hats, so Elephant Mario, there's a little like mole Mario where you'll kind of be able to go like underground essentially and then go up walls and whatnot. What else was there? Did he have a spike on his head? They're all fine. If I'm honest, you can kind of, there's some of the levels are these kind of like challenge runs where you'll have like 3 stages and enemies, and you have to kind of kill them in a certain time frame, and you like, there's 3 stages, and the quicker you do it, the more like bonus you'll get. And at the beginning of those levels, you get a choice out of every, like all the power ups are there, basically Fire Mario, Elephant Mario, and it's up to you what you do. But essentially, you can get through them all with any, they're kind of all, they're not much of a muchness. That's kind of doing a disservice, but you can kind of just pick your favourite and make it work. It's not like, I'm on this stage, so this power up is what I need. It's more like, okay, what one works best for you?
Yeah,
that will work great. It did make me think, to be honest, just how, when I was playing this game a lot, I was like, fuck me, those ones, back in the day, they were light years. Like Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario World was so far ahead of themselves in what they were doing, like in level design, power-ups, everything. Like they're so iconic that
Forest
it's
of
really,
Illusions.
really, it's fucking hard to kind of, even in 2023, to kind of make those games better. It's not easy.
No.
They're like platform perfection, essentially, those ones.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting that they have these wonder flowers and these seeds and whatnot, because if you mentioned there, if you missed one, you'd go back and try and find it. Was that immediate? It wasn't like, I'll play through this end of this world or whatever it's structured and then go back to it. Was it always immediate?
Right away, just get it done.
And do they lead to like new and interesting things like that you wouldn't have got to, like you mentioned, perhaps a dragon flying off? Do you get to see new areas with new collectibles or other things that you kind of need to help progress go forward? Or is it purely just the fun of seeing what's going to happen? Or is there a progression kind of requirement to start finding these because it can lead you or unlock newer sort of, I don't know if it's currency or whatever you're collecting to get through the worlds?
Yeah, so it's that classic thing of where you need so many, like, I think they're flowers, stars, moons, whatever you want to say, but I think it's flowers in this one. So you kind of need to do the wonders or a portion of them, because you'll get to either like castles or, just locked bits of the world where, you have to have 30, 60, 90 stars to unlock. So, and these are flowers. So you do kind of need to do it. You don't need to do them all, but essentially you can get one at the end of the level and one for getting your power up. There might be a third way as well. There's other collectibles. I don't think that got you a flower though. But yeah, that's the thing. And then obviously there's more. You might come across a power up more coins if you're collecting them for your one-ups and things, but there's so many options to get things like that in shops and whatnot. As always, you don't really need that. But essentially, it's like it just opens up, spans the level, vertically, or it can be in any direction, or something completely new.
Yeah.
And then it's its own little bit of the level. It's like a level within a level, essentially.
Yeah. And what is the structure of Wonder? You mentioned there's like an open map or things like that, but how do you progress and,
You're going to be surprised to hear this. It's a little bit open world, Joe. I don't know what they're doing. They've done it. They've shit the bed and gone, right, Mario has to be open world.
Just because Zelda was a copy and they're like, oh, we can do open world too. Is it just as barren as Zelda, is it? These open worlds?
It's a packed world, to be fair. But there's either, I don't know, this is so bad. There's either 6 or 8 worlds. There must be 8. There's always 8. Call it 8 worlds. Essentially, bog standard. There's an overworld, with all your normal levels, your hidden things in there as well. You might kind of just have to, go underneath a castle or something. There'll be like a rock you can get through or whatever, and you'll get into another world. There'll be levels hidden there or shops hidden there. Those other sort of stages, those kind of more challenge stages, because most levels are like, A to B, but then you'll get other worlds where there's like really hard stages. It's kind of all over the place because you're kind of just, even in like the first couple of worlds, every sort of level you go into, it will tell you, it will star rate it, 1 to 5, I think, of how difficult it is.
Okay.
So you'll kind of have, and then a lot of the harder ones, they're everywhere, as in like from stage or world 1, but they're kind of more optional. You don't need to do those levels. But again, I kind of got through them all. But it's a weird then balance because it's never particularly hard, if you know what I mean. You just get to the end and you might have more of those harder 3 and 4, 5-star levels, but it's not like the old school ones where it really ramps up after a certain point. It always feels very, very doable, and it's not particularly challenging. But yeah, essentially is standard Mario fare. Overworld with some secrets, go into, a linear world, A to B, move on, mini boss. Oh, and then that's what I was going to say. So once you've done 1 or 2 or maybe 3 worlds, after that you've got a choice. You can go in like 4 directions.
Okay.
And kind of do it. So it is a little bit open in that respect. So if you're getting bored, you could just kind of go off and go somewhere else. But I don't know why you'd do that. Just clear down what's in front of you and move on, I say.
Yeah. I was going to ask about the difficulty because having been scarred by Super Mario Brothers 3 and that sort of ending world or castle, whatever it was, and I was like, what is... without that rewind feature on the Switch, I wouldn't have got through it. It would have been impossible. That's why they put those bloody warps in, I think, so people didn't have to go through all the... I think there's an ice level as well. I was like, what is this?
Yeah. It's not... I enjoy that. Is things like, where my favourite platformers now are like Super Meat Boy and Celeste and things, where it's that classic kind of feel and control and stuff, but it's totally, what's new there is the challenge, whereas this is a very kind, I never really struggled. I think I did die, but never often.
So I was going to ask you about deaths and whether there's a punishment for dying, because in Odyssey it was coins that you'd lose and you never had 0 coins, you always had an abundance of them. Is this similar, or have they gone back to the old school lives? And I assume you never got close to losing them all, but I can't imagine it resets the game like the old games used to. It probably just, I don't know, maybe resets a score somewhere. I'm not sure how they would do it these days, but they don't seem to want to throw you back to the start.
No, I'll be honest, because basically a couple of times I might have got close to losing, because, like I said, there's a few of those challenge levels. That's where I'd kind of go through my lives. I'd be like, right, I'd sit there. And actually, I would die a lot on those because they were like the 5-star super hard ones. But what I would just get to a point where I was getting low on lives and go to one of the stores and buy some more, or redo an easy level and get some more lives. So I never actually let them run out. No. So I never got to the stage where I was continuing where it might, because I was worried it would reset me. I didn't think it would reset me to the beginning, of course. I thought worst case maybe to the beginning of that world. But I was like, I don't really want that to happen.
You mentioned briefly about the bosses. Sometimes, often these are a bit of a highlight of a Mario game, be it 2D or 3D. what are we talking about levels here? I mean, I don't expect Dark Souls levels of, boss interactivity and difficulty, but good, fun, passable, boring.
They're all quite similar, if I'm honest. And like basically, you'll have like, I guess it'll all be traditional, and then basically you'll hit the guy 1 or 2 times, he'll get pissed off, and then start a wonder, and the level then will change. But what it might mean is like the boss room floods, all of a sudden you're in water, or something similar where the water will be like on the top of the screen. So if you jump, all of a sudden you're in water, and then you've got to try and dodge him and then get down lower. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or the room comes topsy-turvy, or the terrain changes. But essentially you're fighting the same person in every boss battle, apart from when you fight Bowser.
Yes, that makes sense. And is there, can you just get straight back into fighting the boss if you fail? Or do you have to go through like a little mini level to get there? Or did you never died on them?
I didn't. I never died. They're quite easy. Yeah. Yeah. Genuinely. Even the last one, beat him first time, and I was a bit like, hang on.
That can't be.
I don't know. I would imagine you're straight back in. Did
it roll credits when you were kind of quote unquote done with the sort of scenario of it? Or did it just chuck you back out there and you was like, oh, I'm done? Or did it give you like
no
indicator?
It rolled credits.
Oh, okay, fine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was done.
That's fine. I was making sure.
The world saved at that point. I think it literally says like your little like mate who's like with you.
Yeah.
Kind of just says, do you want to go back out and kind of clean up? And you're like, yeah. Yeah.
Not going back out there, mate. Fucking Wonder Seeds causing havoc. Why would you put yourself through that hell? Any other business? Anything to mention? If it's soundtrack, I don't know. I don't know what else other depth these games can provide. I mean, I guess is the platforming as tight and snug as it usually is, sort of top drawer.
It's like it's a weird one, mate. Because I kind of come away from it saying, "Oh, do you know what? I really enjoyed that," but then also kind of like it does feel in 2023 like it feels quite simple. Like it probably had a big team behind it and probably a fair bit of money thrown at it. But you're kind of like, it was weird because I was really looking forward to it. I enjoyed it mostly, like it's fine. A couple of mates I know played it and they just really weren't keen on it.
Interesting. Are they normally keen on?
Yeah, one loved. He's a bit of a newer gamer, and he loved Odyssey. Absolutely loved it. Loved like Breath of the Wild.
Once you have the real McCoy of 3D, that's what it can do.
Well, that's it. So, it definitely wasn't like that for me. But I was a bit like I said at the beginning, it kind of left me thinking, like, what do I actually want with Mario? Because I'm not massively keen on the 3D. To be honest, I've missed Galaxy and Galaxy 2, which obviously are two of the. I don't know how they play in comparison to the ones that I like and don't like, but yeah, the Odyssey and what else was there?
You've had, they did 3D World. You've had what's that one where you got the water?
Sunshine, which I really didn't like.
Yeah.
What else was there? Galaxy 2. Was there one after that was 3D? Or is that then it?
I think so. The 3D All Star Pack has Sunshine, Galaxy, and 64. So I think they're the three core ones. And then we've got Odyssey. There might be another one thrown in there.
I feel like I'm missing one that I didn't particularly like. But anyway,
and then 40-year-old franchise at the end of the day.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a bit baffled. I mean, like I said, it's never been my favourite franchise, but I've always sort of enjoyed it, to a point. And I'm just like, I don't know what I want next. Is kind of what I'm trying to get at. I played this and I was like, yeah, it was fine, but it feels quite basic. Is what I would say. Maybe I think because the games, for me, the evolution is then in the difficulty. I feel like that's where 2D games for me have gone.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, this is a throwback, but it's like the hardest. Really kind of challenges you, and you die, you're back in. And I'm like, okay, cool. This is what it's about.
It's weird how they sort of turned the tables, because they were hard. They were the harder ones back in the day, and now they're like, well, we don't want to make it too hard to run people off because it's this big, accessible console, for lack of a better term. But then others have taken up the mantle of, right, you want hard, all right, have it.
I assume the old ones were hard purely because you could beat them within an hour if you were.
You knew what you're doing.
If you could beat it, they were short, so the hardness is what kind of made it take 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's, you've got to remember that this will be a lot of people's game to play with their kids. This will be a lot of kids' first favourite game, and the fact they're kind of making it accessible for everyone. I guess when you look at it through that lens, then you are kind of like, oh, it's kind of ingenious what they do, because the difficulty levels are there. They're just less and not mandatory.
No, cool. Any other business? Anything you've not touched upon that pops into that brain?
No, just get me that botchling bin out and let me chuck this in.
Well, let's ask it. We've got Super Mario Brothers Wonder 2D Wonder Case. 91 scored on OpenCritic. Where does this go? Does it earn itself a platinum, gold, silver, or bronze, or does it end up in that botchling bin where it's just left with the likes of AEW Fight Forever and new Pokemon Snap?
Well, I'm assuming the 91 in any sort of conversion would make it a platinum, but it ain't a platinum to me.
It'd be gold and platinum territory for sure, yeah.
Jesus Christ. Good Lord. That. I would say this game is a solid silver. Again, like another game I reviewed recently. Yeah, nothing wrong with it, but I can't say I came away blown away. Mario, little new animation. There is definitely a Nintendo bump in there, because I remember when this came out and everyone was going, "Oh, he tips his cap as he goes through a pipe," and you're like, "Oh, fuck, does he? Good for Mario." Like that doesn't make the game any better. A little animation quirk, Christ. So I'm bumping it down.
I'm surprised. I thought it was going to end up as a bronze the way you were talking about it. Sort of not that interested, but cool.
No, because you know what? Yeah, I liked it. I did have fun. Yeah. I got home from work every night, and any time I had some free time, it was nice. In a way, it was really nice to play something very simple. I very much enjoyed my time with it, but then instantly forgotten, really. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, yeah, that was fun, but, yeah, I mean, because by design, it's a more simple game. There is no story. There's nothing to kind of resonate with afterwards. You're just like, I had fun with those levels. What's next? Nothing. Yeah. Right. Get me Alan Wake.
Well, coming to a podcast near you, if we ever get through it. Could be a double act for that as well. But there we go. Super Mario Brothers Wonder earns itself a silver from Adcock into the Dimp Digital Gaming Gallery. Nothing more for us to say other than thanks for your time and ta-da.
This was a Dimp Digital production.